The wrestling world erupted when footage surfaced showing Rhea Ripley in a situation that WWE deliberately kept from public view, and what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about the Eradicator. Before we dive into the shocking details that WWE tried to bury, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're bringing you exclusive content that the mainstream wrestling media won't dare touch. Rhea Ripley has dominated WWE programming for years, crushing opponents and building an empire of destruction that seemed unstoppable. Her gothic persona, intimidating presence, and ruthless in-ring style made her one of the most feared competitors in professional wrestling. But behind the carefully crafted image that WWE presented to millions of fans worldwide, there was footage that told a completely different story. This wasn't just another backstage altercation or a minor incident that could be swept under the rug. This was something far more significant, something that threatened to expose cracks in the armor of one of WWE's biggest stars. The footage in question was captured during a live event that wasn't being broadcast on television. These house shows are typically considered safe spaces where wrestlers can experiment with their characters and try new things without the pressure of national television scrutiny. Security cameras caught everything, and what they recorded was Rhea Ripley breaking character in a way that WWE executives absolutely did not want the public to see. She was caught in an emotional moment that completely contradicted the tough, unbreakable persona that had been marketed to fans for years. The vulnerability displayed in those few minutes of footage could have undone years of character development and millions of dollars in merchandising. WWE's response was immediate and decisive. The footage was locked down faster than anything the company had dealt with in recent memory. Staff members who had access to the video were given strict instructions never to discuss what they had seen. Some reports suggest that non-disclosure agreements were reinforced, and certain employees were reminded of the consequences of leaking sensitive company material. The level of secrecy surrounding this particular piece of footage was extraordinary, even by WWE's notoriously tight-lipped standards. This wasn't just damage control, this was a complete information lockdown. What made this situation even more complicated was the timing. Rhea Ripley was in the middle of a major storyline that had her positioned as an unstoppable force. She was carrying championship gold and was being built up as the centerpiece of the women's division. Any hint of weakness or vulnerability could have derailed months of carefully planned storytelling. WWE had invested heavily in Ripley's character, and the company couldn't afford to have that investment compromised by footage that showed her in a completely different light. The stakes were incredibly high, and the company was willing to do whatever it took to keep this material away from public consumption. The incident that sparked this controversy involved an interaction with a young fan at the house show. The cameras captured Ripley stepping out of character completely when approached by a child who was visibly upset. Instead of maintaining the intimidating heel persona that she was known for, Ripley dropped everything and spent several minutes comforting the young fan. She was seen wiping away tears, offering words of encouragement, and even taking photos while smiling warmly. This might sound heartwarming, and in any other context it would be, but for WWE's carefully constructed narrative, it was a disaster. The Eradicator wasn't supposed to show compassion or kindness, especially not during a period when she was being positioned as one of the most ruthless competitors in the company. Wrestling fans understand that what happens on screen is choreographed entertainment, but the industry still relies heavily on maintaining character consistency. When a villain breaks character in public, it can undermine months or even years of storytelling. WWE has always been extremely protective of its kayfabe, the illusion that what happens in the ring and on television is real. Moments like the one captured on that footage threaten to pull back the curtain too far, reminding audiences that these are performers playing roles rather than actual larger-than-life characters. For a company that generates billions in revenue from maintaining these illusions, such footage represents a genuine threat to the business model. The lengths WWE went to suppress this footage became a story in itself. Multiple sources within the company confirmed that meetings were held specifically to address the situation. Creative team members were instructed to double down on Ripley's heel persona, making her even more aggressive and intimidating on television to counteract any potential softening of her image. Additional security protocols were implemented for house shows, with stricter guidelines about what could and couldn't be recorded by staff members. The paranoia within WWE's upper management was evident, as they feared that any leak of this material could spread across social media within hours. But here's where things get really interesting. Despite WWE's best efforts, word of the footage's existence began to spread through the wrestling community. Wrestlers talk and staff members whisper, and before long, there were rumors circulating on insider forums and social media platforms. Fans who attended the house show in question started coming forward with their own accounts of what they witnessed. Some claimed they saw Ripley's emotional interaction with the young fan firsthand. Others reported seeing security rushing to confiscate phones and cameras immediately after the incident. The more WWE tried to contain the story, the more attention it seemed to attract. The situation escalated when a major wrestling news outlet got wind of the story and began investigating. Reporters started reaching out to WWE for comment, asking pointed questions about alleged footage and the company's efforts to suppress it. WWE's public relations team went into overdrive, issuing statements that neither confirmed nor denied the existence of such footage. The carefully worded responses only fueled more speculation. Wrestling journalists who had spent years building sources within the company suddenly found those sources going silent. The wall of secrecy that WWE constructed around this incident was unlike anything the industry had seen in years. What makes this entire situation so fascinating is the ethical dimension. On one hand, WWE is a publicly traded entertainment company with every right to control its intellectual property and protect its business interests. The footage was captured on company equipment during a company event, making it WWE's property. From a legal and business standpoint, the company was well within its rights to suppress material that could damage its product. On the other hand, what was captured on that footage was a genuine moment of human kindness and compassion. Rhea Ripley wasn't doing anything wrong. She was simply being a decent person who saw a child in distress and responded with empathy. The fact that WWE felt this needed to be hidden raises questions about the industry's priorities. Rhea Ripley herself has never publicly commented on the footage or the controversy surrounding it. Her social media presence remained focused on her character work, with posts maintaining her tough persona. Interviews conducted during this period showed no acknowledgement of the incident or any behind-the-scenes turmoil. Whether she was instructed to remain silent or chose to do so on her own is unclear. What is clear is that the situation put her in an incredibly difficult position. As a performer, she's expected to maintain character and support the company's creative direction. As a human being, she likely saw nothing wrong with showing compassion to a child. The conflict between these two realities highlights one of the fundamental tensions in professional wrestling. The impact on Ripley's booking became noticeable in the weeks following the incident. Her character was portrayed even more aggressively on television, with brutal attacks and vicious promos that seemed designed to erase any perception of softness. She was given angles that emphasized her cruel streak, including segments where she showed no mercy to opponents and even allies. Creative decisions that might have seemed random to casual viewers took on new meaning when viewed through the lens of damage control. WWE was actively working to reinforce Ripley's heel persona, using television programming as a tool to counteract the potential impact of leaked footage. Other wrestlers within the company reportedly took notice of how WWE handled the situation. There were discussions backstage about the level of surveillance at live events and concerns about privacy. Some performers felt that the company's reaction was disproportionate to the actual incident. After all, plenty of heel wrestlers had been caught being kind to fans at house shows over the years without such extreme responses. The difference in this case seemed to be the existence of clear video evidence and the timing of the incident during a crucial phase of Ripley's character arc. The situation became a cautionary tale within the locker room about the importance of maintaining character at all times, even when cameras aren't obviously present. The wrestling fan community remained divided on the issue. Some fans argued that WWE's desire to control the footage was understandable from a business perspective. Professional wrestling relies on suspension of disbelief, and moments that break that illusion can be harmful to the product. These fans pointed out that actors don't break character during filming, and wrestlers at public events should be held to similar standards. Other fans took the opposite view, arguing that WWE's response was heavy-handed and unnecessary. They contended that modern wrestling fans understand the difference between character and performer, and that showing compassion to a child shouldn't be treated as a career-threatening scandal. The debate played out across social media platforms, with passionate arguments on both sides. What's particularly striking about this entire situation is how it reflects broader changes in the wrestling industry. In previous eras, maintaining kayfabe was everything. Wrestlers stayed in character constantly, even in public spaces, and breaking character was considered a cardinal sin. The rise of social media and behind-the-scenes content has fundamentally changed this dynamic. Modern fans have access to wrestlers' personal lives through Instagram, Twitter, and other platforms. They see their favorite performers out of character all the time. Yet WWE still operates under rules and expectations that were established in a very different era. The Rhea Ripley footage controversy highlights the tension between old-school wrestling philosophy and modern reality. The financial implications of this incident can't be ignored either. Rhea Ripley merchandise sales were at an all-time high when this footage was recorded. WWE had invested significant resources into building her brand, and anything that could potentially damage that brand represented a threat to revenue streams. The company's aggressive response makes more sense when viewed through this financial lens. It wasn't just about protecting a character or a storyline, it was about protecting a valuable asset that generated income through multiple channels. Every t-shirt, action figure, and piece of promotional material bearing Ripley's image represented money, and WWE wasn't about to let unsanctioned footage threaten those profits. The technical aspects of how WWE managed to keep this footage from leaking are equally interesting. In an age where seemingly everything ends up online, successfully suppressing video material requires sophisticated security measures. WWE's production team had to ensure that all copies of the footage were accounted for and that access was restricted to only the most trusted personnel. The fact that, as of now, the actual footage hasn't surfaced publicly despite widespread knowledge of its existence speaks to the effectiveness of WWE's security protocols. It also raises questions about how many other pieces of footage exist in WWE's archives that have been similarly suppressed for various reasons. Industry insiders have suggested that the Rhea Ripley incident wasn't unique, but rather one of many similar situations that WWE has dealt with over the years. The difference is that this particular case became widely known despite the company's efforts. There are likely dozens of other pieces of footage, backstage incidents, and character-breaking moments that have been successfully buried without anyone outside the company ever learning about them. The wrestling business has always operated with a certain level of secrecy, and WWE has become expert at controlling information flow. The Ripley footage represents one of those rare occasions when the control slipped just enough for the story to escape, even if the actual video didn't. As months passed and the immediate controversy faded, Rhea Ripley continued her rise in WWE. Her character remained strong, and she continued to be featured prominently on television programming. The incident that WWE tried so hard to hide didn't ultimately derail her career, largely because the actual footage never made it to the public. Fans who were aware of the controversy either forgot about it or moved on to other topics. The wrestling news cycle moves quickly, and yesterday's scandal is often forgotten by next week. WWE's strategy of simply outlasting the story proved effective. The broader implications of this incident extend beyond just one wrestler and one piece of footage. It raises important questions about authenticity in professional wrestling, the rights of performers versus the interests of the company, and how much control corporations should have over spontaneous human moments. These aren't easy questions to answer, and different people within the industry have different perspectives. What's clear is that as wrestling continues to evolve and as technology makes it easier to capture and distribute video content, companies like WWE will face ongoing challenges in controlling their narrative. The Rhea Ripley footage remains locked away in WWE's archives, a secret that the company successfully kept from public consumption despite intense interest and speculation. The story serves as a reminder of the complex relationship between reality and performance in professional wrestling. It highlights the lengths that entertainment companies will go to protect their intellectual property and maintain the illusions that drive their business. Most importantly, it reveals the human side of performers who are often expected to be larger-than-life characters at all times, even in moments when basic human decency calls for something different. If you found this deep dive into WWE's hidden secrets fascinating and want more exclusive content that goes beyond the surface of professional wrestling, smash that subscribe button right now because we're constantly uncovering stories that the wrestling world doesn't want you to know about.